Hey there! This is a review of the Recon Medical Titan Shears. Recon Medical sent me these shears to give my honest feedback. In fact, they want me to give my brutal opinions about what I like and what I do not like about these shears, and that's what this video is meant to do. Keep in mind, I am not a medical professional. I was on their Instagram and I just saw the post about looking for testers. And I said, hey, hope you find some good ones. And, even though I don't use shears in any sort of professional context, I do use shears constantly and consistently. And what I have done here, as you can see, I have some material and some other sacrificial material. And between carrying these for the past month and then doing some specific testing, I have a lot to say about these. Long story short, I can't recommend these shears. I'm going to be honest. There's a lot of awesome things about them. It's a great start. And now I'm going to go into why I can't recommend them. So let's talk about the pros first, things that are doing well with these shears. First of all, the Titan shears are very lightweight. I like the coating as well. It seems to be pretty resilient. In fact, I did a test where I had these on the bathroom counter and I would wet them over the course of the day for 2 days, and there's no rusting to speak of, and definitely no binding up of any elements of the shears. Also, in general, the handles are comfortable and smooth. As far as feeling them, I quite like the shape of the finger groove here. So it's a good, generally ergonomic when you at first glance and at first touch for these shears, and they do seem to resist rusting pretty well. Other positives, the clip. This is actually a pretty solid clip. So when I was carrying these around, I had them primarily in my backpack in this. So it's essentially a pocket that goes inside the bag. I'm actually going to take some of these things out because I know they will fall out. And I'll show you the shake test for the clip. Now with that clip, it's not tightened down to any special level. It's just how it came. Actually, I have taken it off and put it back on the bottom screw a couple times. I'll tell you why in a moment. But okay, so it's not very good to see from where I'm at on my little setup here, but if I give this a nice rigorous shake, it takes a good shake to get those things out of there. So while I didn't carry these on the outside of my person or on my backpack, I do feel pretty good about that clip, especially if it is even a pant pocket with a flap over the top, or if you're not worried about going inverted a lot, which is something that I tend to do because of my various types of movement trainings. Last thing is, they do have a sweet spot, so they do cut. They're not awful, so if you use them well and use them for what they can be used for, they snip that was a bad example, pretty well. Let's do another one. This is just a mixed cordage, not quite paracord, actually a little bit tougher. I'm trying to focus here. There you go. Let's give those a snip. Okay. And then on the regular cordages, also tends to work fine as well. This is just a micro cordage made of nylon. Same thing. So this is where I really use shears for the most, is for crafting and knot work and repairs and such and like that. This is a Kevlar thread. Oh, I definitely did a better one earlier. Okay, let's try one more time with the Kevlar thread. And keep in mind, what I'm trying to do with these examples is I'm trying to keep it in what I call the soft spot of these particular shears. And that is just where the teeth are, kind of in the center. You can see in my testing, some of the finish has been wearing down. You can also see that along where the shears slide against themselves around here. But it seems to cut the best right kind of in the center. Right there. Let's do one more with the Spectra thread. Oh, well, I guess two more, Spectra thread, and then we have traditional paracord as well. So it's a Spectra, aka ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. A notoriously tough material. Okay. And then our regular old paracord. I'm going to start from the burned end because I can be sure that the internals are still in there. Oh, shoot. Well, I'll be darned. Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. Well, I'll be darned. Okay, here I was. Oh my gosh, that did not happen before. What the heck? Whoa. I mean, I guess that's gotta be it, folks. I was going to go through it. I'll still go through the rest. Sorry, I'm trying to find the piece that just flew off. Oh no. Well, I guess it's better to happen on camera, but that is definitely new. Where is that piece? I really want to be able to do these things in one go, so I'm gonna keep the camera rolling and just talk about what happened here while I try to find this piece. Gosh, now I can't even do the demonstrations. Okay, well, in lieu of finding it, I'm gonna give it another couple seconds because again, I really want to do this in one take, and now that the shears have actually broken, I'm not going to get another try at these examples. Oh gosh, okay, well. Alright, I'm going to pause the video and look for that piece because I do want to continue this situation. That was a total surprise to me that it had not happened before. That just, okay. Okay, so I think I found the piece. It's this little dealie right here, and gosh, how did this go? It was now like that. Yeah, and then that is joined into there. So I don't know if you can see what just went down with that, but yeah, just trying to cut that paracord. And it pretty much just flew out of there. We can see if we can put it back together real quick. So, and that's, I mean, this is really where these shears don't make the cut. I was going to talk about how much play there was in here in the first place. Let me get my little tool and see if I can put it back together. Which was the first thing that I noticed when I started using these, was that they weren't staying very close together. And in a way, I was going to make, initially when I was first trying to figure out what was going weird with these shears versus the ones that I usually use, I discovered some things about my particular usage of shears. Not so much maybe the products themselves, but the way that I use them. But this play definitely had a lot to do with that, and I'll show you that in a second here once I give this a try. I think it actually sheared off, but I think it's actually not fixable by me in this way, but I'm gonna give it a try anyhow. Yeah, this was weird. That was surprising. Yeah, I can't do anything with that. Okay, so that's that's that deal. So let me go through the things that I was going to say and give the actual examples. So not only did I test these on things like my normal materials, including the paracord, which just defeated them, I also went ahead and I did a lot of cutting on purpose on very thin materials, things like t-shirts, zip ties, and then this was my main sacrificial cloth piece here, where I was using it for trying both the very thick seamed hems, as well as single layers, as well as double layers. Okay, so when they were still functioning, the sweet spot, I'm just gonna have to mimic this now. I noticed that the sweet spot seemed to be right through here. I noticed that when I like to use shears, I'm going to take out the ones that the main competitors here, are these ones, which I got a few years ago. These are Klaus shears, or excuse me, they call them snips, Klaus snips. And keep in mind that on Amazon right now, these are $10 and these are listed as $15. And then also these ones, which were the ones that were living in my backpack before I started employing the test on the Titans. For both of these shears, there's a couple things that are different. One is that you can see instead of the screw, which is where this failure just happened, it's just pins. So not adjustable, like if they get loose, I can't do anything about that, but also probably a lot less likely to break. And both of these things, these ones more than these ones, I've used for the exact same scenarios. In fact, let's just take these Klaus shears, snips, and then attack the same paracord that we were just working on. You can see that's where I was attempting the cut. There you go. Okay, let's do this. Okay, even on something like here with the Klaus, even on the edges, we'll say back on this little, you know, it takes a bit, but it's about 2 cuts. When these were being attempted, what was happening is that they would bind right under this little lip, right under there. So again, excuse my having to reenact this. I would go in for the cut, and then it would kind of stick and bind and just kind of maw on it and kind of gnaw like it had no real teeth. And that only happened when I was going for my normal technique that I use for cutting fabrics. I wonder if I can just pin this together for the time. Gosh, it's pretty hard to demo this now. So what was the cause of that, and what would make it better, right? Because it's not just about saying, oh, these things are awful and they'll always be awful. It's like, well, let's look at what really works and why it works. So the first thing I did notice was with both of these shears, the smaller one and the other one. This one actually came in just a cheap first aid kit I got when I was in London last. With both of them, they have a particular angle where the teeth start to meet the edge, and let's try and get the focus on that again. So you see with the Klaus ones, it comes straight into the joint. There's no real jump, no real change here. I look at this one, we have pretty much the same deal. Just kind of straight into it, maybe a little rise there right at the end, but for the most part, it just kind of moves toward the crux. With the Titan, excuse me, there is, sorry, I keep messing these up now that it's wonky. There we go, so we'll look at there. With the Titan, you can see that there is this little indent, and that's where I believe it is what causes it to have not made the cut and made it so difficult to do these things, is that it comes in and then there's a sharp drop down into this area, and without this being very sharp in here, it just started binding and stopping and being very difficult. Now, like I was saying with the sweet spot, of course, if you only open the shears this far and you stick to just a short leverage on them, yeah, it actually cuts pretty well. Like for a t-shirt or for some sort of crafting project, if you're like right on, then it's fine. But if you're looking for a traumatic situation, where's my, here we go, a fresh one. A traumatic situation where, you know, I'm getting at the bottom of someone's pant leg, we'll say, and I just need to get those shears in and cut. The way that these were functioning, they weren't able to do that. They just stopped entirely. Whereas even with these little ones, on an edge or a seam, I mean, it might take a little bit of here, but as soon as I get it past that, I'm able to cut up and drive and push these forward. With the Klaus, it's even better. These are where I can just come in, get that snip, and then even on the pull, you can see I can just push and rip it. I don't even have to do the snipping. That was not possible with the the Titan shears. So Trying not to make this too long. I was sort of surprised by that situation, so it's longer than I meant it to be. But as far as recommendations, I can't recommend these shears the way they are now. I think they have the ability to be improved upon by, first of all, rethinking or reconsidering what this joining factor is going to be. Now, I did end up tightening this because of that play that I was experiencing before. So I don't know if I over tightened it. That said, I shouldn't be able to over tighten them so much that they resist breaking. I'm going to go back and watch the video later and see exactly that moment. So that's the thing. I would relook to see what that is. I would definitely redesign where this comes in. In fact, I have one more example shear that is pretty much the opposite of this, which again still performs better, even though it's not great. So you can see for this one, it's the opposite, where it comes up into, whereas this goes down. You see the difference there? Okay, they're opposing. This really didn't work for me. Whereas this does. I still prefer, of course, like these other two, where it just goes in. The other thing too is I find that when I use it, I really rely on being able to cut through and drag through. So I need it to be sharp in this area as well, and or the teeth to come up as far as possible. And you can see the difference on the Titan, where before that joint situation, how much space there is before you get there, which is why I was catching the clothing. Let's switch these around here. Okay, right, so that stops before, and this one can keep going. So anyway, long story short, thank you, Recon Medical. I'm sorry I had to give you the brutal truth and break your shears on my video, but I'm also not sorry, because hopefully this will give you some information and some ideas and perhaps some ways to improve. Oh, the last thing, I forgot about that. The last thing is, when I first noticed the loose was because I was coming in and then passing up like this. So that's the last thing I want to show y'all, is that I was doing this, whereas these ones, I can still do that. I have to force it. Actually, I can barely push it past, but it bounces back pretty well. And what that was doing too is, you can see that on the plastic of the handle, the shear is biting into itself. As it was coming in, it was sliding past and just shaving off material over time. That's when I noticed I was kind of like gripping in, but since I've never had that trouble with any other shear before, I honestly didn't know I was doing that until these ones. And then even trying to change my technique didn't work so well, and I guess I just like something where I don't have to change what I've been doing and how I've been doing it. So anyway, thank you, Recon Medical, for giving me the opportunity. Hopefully you have some new insight from this situation, and yeah, I hope y'all have anything else to say about these. You can put them in the comments and open a conversation about it. If you do have shears or snips that you really like, I would also love to know. These are my favorite so far. That's why they stay with my biggest medical kit, and the ones that are going to be more important. This is kind of the backup shear in the backpack. Yep, that's about it. All right, cheers, y'all.